Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Crossing Borders. I'm Mike Ginn. That's Extremo Alex Soto. Back again another week. This time we're talking LUX Fight League 29 coming up next week. Alex will be down in Fronton, Mexico, just outside Mexico City for their big December event. 2 title fights. We'll talk all about that. Of course, before you do that, go ahead and head over to FightersFirst.shop. Support the brand. Let our apparel be a part of your story. Get the Crossing Borders merch. Get the Extremo collection. Hell, I'm wearing the Dynamite Kid shirt today, so check it out. All great stuff. FightersFirst.shop. Alex, how you feeling, bro?
Dude, I'm feeling fantastic, and it's December. How fast does this year have gone, man? It's insane, and
it's flying by.
It is flying by, and speaking of flying by, now we're at LUX 29 event with one of the most exciting freaking cards out there, man. I can't wait. I think this is the fight card that I've been waiting for this whole year to really, keep things moving in the lightweight division. And again, putting Marco Beltran up against those upcoming new guys in the bantamweight division. So yeah, man, I'm feeling good.
I don't know how new this one is. I mean, Jose Roura is like 35, but I get your point. New competition. But that said,
shake it up.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about today with LUX Fight League 29, second card in a row with 2 title fights. Jump right into it. We got Drako Cossio versus Pitbull Martinez. Of course, actually the title is vacant because Drako didn't make weight last time, so the title got held up. Drako still won. Now he's technically the number 1 contender for his own belt. Kind of like the Charles Oliveira situation, if you're familiar with the UFC situation earlier this year, same thing. And then Marco Beltran going against Jose Roura, another longtime veteran. Mexican warrior, 6-2, so definitely a tough challenge for Marco Beltran. You got Lazy Boy in action. We got Luis Solozano. We got Yannis Vidal against Nicole Geraldo. Just so many damn great fights in this card that LUX is showing out to end this year. And it's going to be a hell of a show, Alex. Let's go ahead and start the main event. Let's talk about this. Last time Drako was out, he missed weight. Title got held up. And then he had the walk-off knockout that we all talk about, pretend like he's letting go for the bell and then come back and knock his opponent out. This is a fight. He's going against a veteran, Fernando Martinez, Pitbull Martinez. This guy has been all over the map, fighting all over the world, including Bellator. So he's fought on the grand stage, and he's fought in LUX. His last fight was LUX 18 against Pollo Reyes. What happens in this fight?
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. I'll tell you something. Martinez has got he's just crazy good, man. He's very strong, very powerful. And he always comes forward, man. That's what I like about Martinez, man. And he's going to be very aggressive. And I think he's very heavy-handed, and that's going to come into play here. I think if Fernando Martinez shows up in this first round, comes out aggressive, and comes forward, he could maybe surprise Sergio Cossio on this one, man. It might be kind of an interesting matchup here. I think that there's definitely some things there in the mix that Martinez can surprise Sergio Cossio. But saying that, Cossio's got all kinds of talent. He's also a tough fighter himself, but he's just got a tremendous amount of talent. And that being said, I just think he has more tools in his bag than Martinez does. And not to mention, Martinez is also 42 years of age, which I think it's kind of adds a little bit to the mix here, to mystique here of how is Martinez, does he have enough in the bank to pull this off?
Yeah, you always got the veteran aspect, right? But you also have the question of, is father time catching up to you, right? It's experience versus slowing down, not being able to take a shot. You see that with some veteran fighters in the UFC, veteran fighters around the world, right? They can take a lot, but then, the older they get, the quicker they go down sometimes. So it's really, will Cossio make a mistake? Because if he makes a mistake, Martinez is a veteran. He can capitalize. But Cossio has a chip on his shoulder. He's had a chip on his shoulder before he missed weight. He has had a chip on his shoulder afterwards. We talked about it before. He's trying to make that late push to try to get to the UFC. He's running out of time, so he's got to do something quick and explosive. He's not a young kid either. He's 32, I think, 31.
Yep, exactly.
And so he's got to make a move now too. So he's been the lightweight champion for a while now. He's been the face of the promotion for a while now. He's got to make a move. So I think Cossio's going to get it done in this one because I just honestly think he has more to lose. And he can't afford to slip up right now with everybody looking at him, especially after the weight mishap last fight, because that's the last thing Dana wants is to bring in another fighter who can't make weight. And he's not really big enough to fight at 170, like in my opinion.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, he's not a big 155. So should be an interesting fight. Of course, over in the co-main event, another title fight. Marco Beltran, we weren't sure if he was going to return to defend his title again. He is. It's going to be against Jose Roura, another longtime veteran. Been fighting quite a while out of Mexico. This guy has been in LUX pretty much his entire career, except for the first couple fights, starting at LUX Fight League 8. And here he is getting a title shot finally against Marco Beltran, who's been, pretty dominant since that Diego Lopez fight at LUX Fight League 7. He's rolled out 3 in a row and not really been challenged in any of them. Like he took out Mendoza twice, took out Fito Rubio. Really wasn't that close of a fight.
Yeah.
What happens in this one?
Man, I just don't see it any other way. I think Marco Beltran comes out victorious on this one, man. Marco, the fight that Roura has been, he's a really tough guy and he's been putting up against some of the best there. But what really sticks out to me is that fight against Irvin Amaya, where he struggled to really have any type of dominance in that fight. And wasn't able to take Irvin Amaya down, wasn't, so, and Irvin Amaya is an expert striker type fighter. And he's going to be fighting against Marco Beltran, who's both an expert, fantastic counter fighter on the stand-up. He's also a fantastic and really good ground game that Marco Beltran has. So that's going to be difficult for Jose Roura to come out and really win this fight with a knockout punch or some sort of submission. I mean, I just don't see it going one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, exactly what you're saying. Like Marco Beltran, is the top of the division, top of the food chain in the bantamweight. We've talked about new challengers. We've talked about somebody else on this card coming up, Lazy Boy, like somebody like that. Obviously, Babyface Patron, like all these people that have, supposed to match up with him. Some of the fights happened, some didn't. David Mendoza's had 2 shots. So it's nice to get new blood in there, even if it is an aging veteran like Jose Roura. But this is a dangerous fight for Beltran because if Beltran overlooks him, he could easily get caught by the veteran. Also, Jose Roura can grapple. Like, this isn't just a straight-up, like, boxing fight. He can take him down. He can grapple him. So I'll be interested to see what strategy Beltran takes because Beltran was very careful his last fight. There was points where you even told me that the fight was kind of lackluster. It wasn't super exciting against Fito Rubio. And we know that he can finish fights. But if he's going into the fights just to win, might not be the exciting fight that we're kind of expecting. I don't know. I mean,
okay.
Alex, every once in a while you get a fan point of view.
Yeah, you know what? I think that was an interesting observation there, Mike, because I think Marco Beltran here is going to – I think it's going to be a highlight win style kind of fight, a perfect fight for Marco Beltran. Stylistically speaking, Marco's just better in every aspect of it, of the game. And I think he's going to really – I mean, I hope he doesn't take it lightly, like you said. I think that's an interesting point because, he's facing a tough opponent in Jose Roura. But I just see, the length. He's got reach advantage. He's got talent advantage. He's got experience advantage. I just see this fight being and then stylistically speaking, the way that Marco Beltran fights, it's a perfect matchup and a perfect, really good matchup for Marco Beltran to win in his explosive fashion.
Well, I will say this also. We talked about the last fight, how Martinez was the older fighter. Well, in this case, actually, Beltran's a couple years older than his challenger, and Beltran's 36 too. So, like I said, at some point, we've already talked about him wanting to maybe go do bare knuckle and do some other things. You just hope his head's into it. When he comes to bring it, that he can bring the fire. You just hope that his head's in it and that he really wants to be there and not just kept collecting the check. Because, like I said, you got a veteran going against him. This isn't going to be somebody that's going to make a lot of mistakes. So, yeah, especially a 6-2 fighter. He hasn't made mistakes in a while. So something to keep an eye on. The rest of this card is pretty stacked as well. We've talked about Lazy Boy for a while. Luis Rodriguez going against Jamie Landano, another 6-1 bantamweight. Two guys who come in to bring it. You got Luis Solorzano going against Jesus Sealer. You got Jordi Maya versus Victorious Moreno, who showed up in his first loss, but he showed up and put on a hell of a performance in his last fight. You got Yaneth Vidal versus Nicole Gerardo. Mauricio Alfonso versus Andres Leal is going to be a hell of a fight. You got Santiago Prieto versus Liba Lopez. Hannah Ramos, who's actually kind of a late substitution. She's going against Leticia Baltazar.
Yep.
Martin Gonzalez versus Carlos Arana. Brian Lopez versus Raul Zaragoza. And Brian Arega versus Nicholas Murdoch. That is a huge fight card of 14 fights. What are a couple other fights that you really think we need to keep an eye on?
Well, for starters, I think you already talked about a couple of bantamweights, which is really interesting to stack up. Since Marco Beltran is fighting on this card, I think Luis Rodriguez is a runner-up here. He's a tough kid, man. Always brings the action. I think that fight against Jaime Londono is going to be a good fight. Luis Solorzano in the flyweight division, again, that keeps moving forward against Jesus Sealer or Seiler. Did I say that right?
I'm not sure.
I should know this, but I haven't seen him fight.
As long as you get it right next Friday night.
Yeah. I'll talk to them. I'll talk to those guys. But that's a good fight, and so Solorzano is a guy to keep an eye on that fight. But of course, bantamweights. Mauricio Alfonso versus Andres Leal, 13-10, tons of experience for this Leal kid who's showing up here at LUX Fight League. We know he had a loss against Luis Guerrero, but I think this is going to be a really interesting matchup against Alfonso because tons of experience. I think it's going to be a good step up. We've seen
4-0, 4 straight finishes.
Yeah, we took it. Yeah, exactly. We look at this guy.
Three straight first-round knockouts.
And look at that. Exactly. All knockouts. The guy's always trying to finish the fight. That's what I like about this kid. He's like an Olympic level wrestler. All the way from, let me see, where's he from? Venezuela. So the kid's got a ton of talent, man. And he's one of those guys.
I think he fights out of Caracas.
Yeah, he's going to be a guy to keep an eye out, a guy that's been growing within the division, growing within LUX Fight League. And he's just fire, man. So two guys to look at is those two, Mauricio and Lazy Boy Rodriguez. Two guys that are just fire, man, at bantamweights, man. I'd love to see those two actually match up. So let's say they have a great night and they meet up again. That would be a fantastic fight. It'd be a fun one. But yeah, man, it's just fire, dude. I love this. And then we have, of course, for the main event, not to mention is, Mexico versus Argentina, and see, hopefully we can get the revenge on the whole World Cup game,
Good luck with that. But that said, also you spend way more time in America than Mexico. Stop it. Anyway.
I've been in San Diego. It's the same thing.
Yeah, that's probably true. But that said, also don't sleep on Landano. Landano's also got 3 straight finishes going against Lazy Boy. He's 6-1, so we know Lazy Boy is probably one of the ones next in line. This is a big fight because whoever wins this might be the guy who gets the next title shot. We still don't know what's up with babyface Francisco Patron, whether he's staying or moving up divisions. We talked about that before. He might go to 145. We haven't heard anything recently that I know of. Have you?
No, I haven't seen what's coming up, but I honestly thought he was going to be on this fight card. But it was surprising when they published the card that I wasn't seeing him on the fight card. But yeah, last I heard
they got to leave somebody for January.
Yeah, exactly. Well, last I heard, babyface Patron was going to move up to 145 pounds, and he has left all his dreams to becoming a bantamweight fighter. He left it in the past now, so he's moving on to 145 and facing some interesting contenders in that division.
Well, there's a couple things. One, if you look at it, like who's next? Like it has to be the winner of the Lazy Boy fight because David Mendoza's not going to get another shot if Beltran wins because he's already lost to him twice by finish.
Yeah.
So, like you said, new blood coming up. That there's going to be new blood everywhere too. By the way, because not only this, Also, we talked about Alessandro Costa before. He just came back, got the big finish. Now he's off to the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
He got the call up. He's going to be on UFC Fight Night 216 where's that fight card? I don't know if they said that was at the Apex. So UFC Vegas 66, I believe. So he's getting the call up. We don't know what's up with Diego Lopez. He's taking fights outside of Luke's as well. There's going to be a lot of new blood coming up this year, and a lot of great fighters on this card are going to be fighters that we see next year really showcasing a lot of fights, as well as the November card that we saw that was full of fireworks just last month, or a couple weeks ago, actually. So there's a lot going on in LUX Fight League. And I do want to ask you a couple more things about this fight card while we're on it.
Sure.
Headlining the challenge fight card usually is like two fighters that LUX has their eye on. This time it's Santiago Prieto versus Libo Magic Lopez. What do you think of that fight?
Santiago Prieto. That's how you pronounce it. Prieto, the bantamweight. Another bantamweight.
I'm a gringo. Leave me alone.
All the way from Bogota, Colombia, which, by the way, I'll be going to Colombia in February.
Nice.
Not related to fighting. One of my friends will be getting married.
You're looking for Pablo's treasure?
But I'll be looking for Pablo's treasure. Hopefully I can find it.
Use that military experience, bro. Find it. Bring it back. Split it between all of us.
I'll need some metal detectors, hopefully, to see hopefully the box were made out of metal. Who knows?
All those dollar bills are long since probably deteriorated, but
no longer in rotation, I guess. But yeah, man, we saw how Prieto showed up and he fought against Jose Roura, and he lost a unanimous decision to him, which is tough guy to put away. He was back at LUX Fight League back in 2016 when we first met up with him, and he lost. He won that one with a super fast heel hook within the first minute of that fight. So this kid's really exciting to watch. I think he just dropped that ball against a really, really tough bantamweight who's
getting a title fight. Yeah,
who's getting a title fight now because of that. But it'll be interesting to see how he matches up against Lopez, man. And Libo, Libo Lopez. I don't really, all his last two fights has been 1-1, lost against the bantamweight, up and coming Mauricio Alfonso, which we just talked about. And then, got a nice win in his last outing at LUX 22. So that's going to be a really interesting event, I think, for LUX Challenge. We've seen some that kind of don't make sense. That why is it in the main event, the LUX Challenge? But I think this is a really, like I said, stacked card all the way from the top over to the bottom.
Yeah, and funny enough, like we talked about last week, we talked about a different Luis Rodriguez. We got Lazy Boy this week. Ironically, a completely unrelated Luis Rodriguez is the one that beat Libo Lopez in his debut. Just completely unrelated. So just there are so many Luis Rodriguez's that are fighters in Mexican MMA. I mean, it's as common as Smith, I guess. And the funny thing is, the guy he fought is undefeated as well, but hasn't fought in 3 years since he knocked out Lopez.
Okay.
Little side trivia note in case anybody wants to go deep digging. That's what we're here for.
$1 million question right there.
Letting you know the ins and outs. Like you said, there's just so many great fights on this card. I'm interested to see how Vic Moreno bounces back from his first loss. He showed up. He put on a hell of a performance against Lazy Boy last time. There's just Mauricio Alfonso and Andres Leal is the one I'm looking at on that main card as well. So, a lot of great fights. Check that out on December 9th, next Friday, a week from now. Alex will be down there outside Mexico City eating some cricket tacos. Hopefully a lot better travel than his last event. But that said, Alex, there's a couple other things to talk about before we get out of here today. One, we got Versus on the network now. Your Versus Muay Thai is now on the network. Got quite a few of the fights. Not all of the fights, quite a few of the fights. We got one fight from the first card. We're working on getting way more from the first card. We got we got everything from the Grand Prix pretty much to the main event in the second card. And then the third card, we got everything but one fight. So A lot of stuff on the network. Check it out. If you're a Muay Thai fan, we got amateur, professional. And then, of course, Alex is gearing up. You want to tell people about the event coming up in February?
Yeah, we'll be
way too early still.
Yeah, no, we're still in the process of it. We've re-identified locations and where it's going to be at. But next Muay Thai event will be an IKF event here in San Diego on February 4th. So we're looking forward to that.
That's a tough date, bro. You know what else? You know what else is that date?
What day is it? Is it the biggest Muay Thai event in the world?
No, actually, it's one of the biggest Bellator events in the world. February 4th is when they're having the Fedor versus Bader matchup and the Nemkov versus Yoel Romero matchup. That's also February 4th on CBS. Right, that's when they're jumping to CBS. After. Yeah. I mean, who wants to watch some boring, MMA? Let's go watch some Muay Thai, because for real, I'm joking, but Muay Thai is where the action is. Like, if you want to see some like rock'em sock'em robots, if you're into like pure unadulterated just action, Muay Thai is where it's at. Brandon and Tim talk about it on Kicking It every week. A lot of the one action, a lot of the infusion and glory, kickboxing and stuff like that. We see one with like Rodtang and Superlek and all these guys, like top level Muay Thai. This is where they start. Promotions like Versus. And we're showing it to you from the beginning. You don't get to see a lot of these amateur fights. You don't get to see a lot of these early professional fights on YouTube or anywhere. They're hard to find. We just put them up. Like, there's not a lot of these fights out there. So go ahead and check them out. Give Alex some love on there. He appears in a couple of the championship videos putting belts on people. So you'll recognize, like, hey, I know that guy. Any final words going into next week's event, Alex?
I'm just looking forward to some cricket tacos, like you said. And I'll see you guys all live on UFC Fight Pass next week, man.
Or Fox Deportes. Fox Deportes. If you want some like really good announcing, go to Fox Deportes. Henry Briones and those guys kill it. Or you can go to Fight Pass and listen to the English version with Alex and Francisco.
There we go.
Ex Rivera. Either way, you're getting some great action. December 9th from Fronton, Mexico. LUX Fight League 29. Alex, great episode as always. I look forward to seeing you after LUX Fight League 29 to recap all the action. We'll probably have one more episode before Christmas and then take our little holiday break so everybody can enjoy their holidays and not work too hard. I'm Mike Ginn. That's Extremo Alex Soto. This is Crossing Borders. Enjoy the fights next weekend. We'll talk to you soon.